Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Anil Banwari, the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the 20-year-old Indian Television.com group. The biggest product in our group is the D2C platform, that's the direct-to-consumer platform, telechakkar.com, which attracts 100 million unique viewers annually and generates in excess of 1 billion views. Then there is indiantelevision.com, which is, again, one of the leaders in its space and precedes a lot of other players, apart from AFAX. We both started indiantelevision.com almost simultaneously. That's Srikanth Kandekar and me. We are the leaders in as far as reaching out and giving information to folks and executives in the cable TV, production, DTH, advertising, media, marketing, OTT, tech sectors, as far as these sectors are concerned. Then we have radioandmusic.com, which is targeted at the FM radio and music B2B fraternity. That's about 15, 16 years old again. And also it's targeted at fans of music and radio, and also the jockeys and the shows and what have you. We also have the world's third largest animation, VFX, gaming, and comics destination called Animation Express. All of these make up our digital publications. The group is also into production. We're producing close to 1,000 videos and a month. So plus we also have been behind the iconic Indian Teddy Awards, the most respected awards for the TV, actor and technician fraternity, as well as OTT platforms. We have a string of leading industry platforms like VidNet, which is for the OTT ecosystem, which is in its 5th year. IDOS, which is for the TV and broadband distribution ecosystem. The Content Hub, which brings together all those involved in the creation of content for TV, film, OTT. We also have the Media and HR Summit. We are currently pioneering things like the Games, Esports, and More Summit, which starts next month. Which brings together games, studios, and the platforms, as well as the brands, as well as gamers. That's happening next month. Kids animation and more is something which has been really very well received by the industry. It focuses on the kids ecosystem. Additionally, like the Times of India looks after the Cannes Lions, I'm in charge of MIPCOM, MIPTV, MIP Junior, MIPDoc, the world's largest gathering for content syndication and co-production, which takes place in the city of Cannes. Exactly the same location in the Palais of Festivals where you have the Lions happening. I've been doing so for the past 15 years for the regions of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. I'm in charge of enabling Indian companies who are going to these markets, and as well as in increasing sales for Read With Them, which runs these markets. I also look after Asia Television Forum, which takes place in Singapore, and MIP Cancun, which takes place in Cancun in Mexico, MIP China, which takes place in Hangzhou in China. Finally, there's Esports Bar, the largest gathering of esports and gaming professionals and executives, which takes place in Miami and Cannes. Now, onto our fireside chat. My first encounter with him was when Ulka managing director Billy Kapoor, yes, the legendary bootsman Billy Kapoor or Anil Kapoor, who is also the father of that fabulous actor Ram Kapoor of TV and film fame, invited me to meet this bunch of management graduates who formed a part of his core team at the agency Ulka, which was struggling after founder Bal Mankur could not run it effectively. On that team, if I remember, were Nagesh Alai, Nitin Bhagwat, Arvind Vable, Ambi Parveshwaran, Nitin Karkare, and of course, our guest for the day, Shashi Sinha. Billy boasted how his was one of the few agencies which had brought in professionals from non-agency backgrounds to help bring a new focus on account planning in advertising. For this young man, that's Shashi Sinha, who I met at that time, very shy, very soft-spoken, but extremely confident, from an army background in Dehradun, to graduating from IIT in Kanpur and then from IIM Bangalore. It was a strange career choice for his parents. Anyway, but it has been a rewarding one, definitely, like it has been for several of his peers who were with him at the agency. Today, Shashi Sinha is the CEO India of IPG Mediabrands. He manages the second largest media agency group that includes Lodestar, Initiative Media, Interactive Avenues, Mediabrands, BPN, Reprise, Rapo, Cadreon, Orion, Society, and Magna Global in India. His group manages approximately 20% of the overall media spends in the country and is widely recognized for its strategic approach to media solutions across a wide portfolio of over 100 blue chip clients. We'll talk about his clients later. Shashi is also actively involved in various industry bodies, such as the Advertising Standards Council of India, the Advertising Agencies Association of India. He's been the past chairman of the Audit Bureau of Circulation, the past president of the Ad Club, and several other. He also was probably behind the founding of the technical committee of the Broadcast Audience Research Council. He's also an honorable member of the prestigious Facebook India Client Council. So we've got a fabulous, fabulous guest for the day. He started his career with Parley as a product manager and then moved on to Herbertsons. Actually, his first job, I think, was with Tata Engineering and Locomotive Company. That's called Telco, after he finishes IIT. And then his mum put him into IIM, told him to get into an IIM course. In the early 90s, he set up Lodestar, which is India's specialized media planning and buying outfit. From there on, he's grown, absolutely. In 2012, he was made the CEO of IPG Mediabrands. I'm really glad to have Shashi as my guest for the day. Shashi, how are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm normally not used to such glowing introductions. Embarrasses the hell out of me. But thanks a lot for that lovely introduction. And really, we go back a long way. You talked about Anil, and that time he was a great leader. He probably taught us a lot. So I was just remembering those days when we first met.
Yeah, I know. So, basically, I'll begin with something else. We'll get back to Billy later. In terms of, are you happy that the Premier League is coming back on 12th September? I know you're a footer fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm delighted both the leagues are coming back. I'm
talking about Premier League. I know IPL you like. Let's talk about Premier League because
EPL is coming back, definitely. I mean, I think last season was a great season with Liverpool doing what they did so well, and therefore creating momentum. Otherwise, it was becoming, I'm a Man City supporter, but it was, if I may say so, it was becoming a bit repetitive in that sense. So I'm delighted it's coming back. Football is a very passionate game, and I think it will serve the cause. And of course, we'll talk about it later, but the other Premier League also makes a lot of sense for us from a business point of view.
Great. So, have work given you enough time to go for your walks? I think around a month ago, I saw you. We both live in Lokhandwala and Andheri in Mumbai. But we barely got a chance to, spend time with each other because each of us are busy in our professions. I, as the founder of the company, he running a large organization with how many employees?
You make it out to be large. It's about 1,200 employees. It's not that big as it sounds, but 1,200 odd people.
Yeah, but it's quite a sizable organization. So, yeah, I know. So he's been busy with that. Have you had enough time to take walks on the back road of Lokhandwala?
Yes, actually, the lockdown has done that for me. I went, the company put me through this training program in January, coincidentally. They put this band around my arm and they monitor it at the global level. And they said, it was meant to be a psychological and a physical thing. So I think when the instructor met me and put me through 4 days of vigor, he said, mind is okay. I don't think you can teach you much about that, but physically you need to do something about it. So I started walking, was off and on. But I think perhaps one of the few upsides of the lockdown I've had is that I've been pretty regular. First they stopped the back road, as you know, they used to make you do better if they caught you.
Yeah, they made you do actually sit-ups.
So the sit-ups were happening. But then I was in the building. But now ever since they open up from 8th of June, I've been pretty regular, and I'm happy to say that it's showing some effect. So my sister said to me, the face has become thinner, the alcohol has gone away, so life is better. So definitely.
What I would advise you to do is stop having sugar. I'm telling you, your face will really slim down and reduce your salt intake.
Yes, that's a tough one, but yes, that's
I don't take any sugar anymore. I don't take
the next challenge to take.
Yeah. So how many kilometers do you do a day?
I do about 8 in the morning, about 4, 5 in the evening. So total about 13 or so.
And that's a brisk walk or it's slow walking?
It's a brisk walk. Reasonably, for my age, it's reasonably brisk.
Great. Have you had time to play bridge also? This is something which is...
No, I'm surprised. You've done a fair degree of homework on me. Not too many people know that I should be fond of playing bridge. I'm very, very impressed. The lot of nuggets you pulled out, which, that whole thing of Tata Engineering or Telco, as it was called that time, was not known to too many people. Now you're putting on bridge. So I'm very, very impressed that you managed to remember and recall and recollect many, many small things about me. So I've not played too much bridge. Bridge needs foursome play together. I'm not a big player on the laptop, on the internet. I like the touchy feel, abusing, shouting at each other, saying, you went wrong here. So I haven't played that. But yes, that's my passion. Once I retire, probably will get down to playing bridge.
Okay. And does your wife accompany? What are the pastimes you have apart from these two, which I know of?
So, not much. I do read a little bit, and I've abandoned that. I started picking it up. In fact, it's now Sir Alex Ferguson's biography is what I'm.
Wow, Alex Ferguson's biography. Wow.
At this point in time, so that's what I'm doing. My wife has different tastes. She's very fond of music. Unfortunately, I'm stone deaf, so I'm not very good at understanding and appreciating music. She's a reasonable singer. But more than being a reasonable singer, she's passionate and she practices a lot. In fact, as we were speaking, she chased me out of my study. She says, I have a music class. You go away. So I'm sitting in a small study area. So the different taste for each of us.
I understand. Your wife and my wife should get together because my wife's a singing teacher and she's also a life coach and a voice coach. She's not Indian. She's a foreigner.
I know that I know.
Yeah. So, but great. Great to hear that. I believe, you were influenced by one professional, really, in your early days, Dr. Verghese Kurian.
Yes.
I'll come to Billy later, the man who built up the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation. What was it about him that motivated you in your career?
So it's a very interesting story. If I may have the permission to narrate the story,
please go ahead.
Of telling it.
It's your platform.
It was 1986. I was a rookie. I was, as you said, I was working in the beverage and the liquor industry in UB. Robertson's is one of the companies. I also worked for McDonald's. And, it's a very, so I was in sales. For whatever reason, I got into sales. I thought sales was great and I learned a lot from sales. And then, how competitive classmates are and they teach you. So some of my batchmates from IIM were with me and they were saying, guys, you're missing out where marketing with action is. And you now can't get into marketing because your typecast is sales. And in hindsight, probably beverage selling was all about sales. But that's what the mindset was. So you get into advertising. So I took a pay cut because Balmukar recruited me and he said, I don't know whether you...
One second.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, continue. I'm just disconnecting that. Sorry about that.
So he said, take a pay cut and join. And I joined Ulka because I had some friends working there, Vishesh Bujani, Rahul Kalia. They were both in Delhi.
Oh, Rahul Kalia?
Yeah. So
ONM, he joined ONM later, right?
Yeah. So he came in, they're all in Dubai now. So we came on, DD Saxena used to be my boss in UB. He came in here, he got me in. So we all came in together, this is the time when it still rains in Bombay in the monsoon, I think July in 86. So I joined in February, March, and very junior, 5 years experience and not too senior. Balmukar used to go to London every summer. And Rumi Mustri, the deputy man director, he was out somewhere that day. There's no one in office. Dr. Kurian walked into our office. He came in with this chap called Vivek Mathai, who's the regional head for Amul at that point in time, GCMF in Bombay, and also Ravi Mathai's son and related to Dr. Kurian. So they were looking for, Dr. Kurian very loyal. He used to stay by the agencies and he was be true to them. And they were saying, they were expanding. They had ASP, they had Radius, they had Akuna. They were saying maybe there's merit in looking at a fourth. And he came into a reception unannounced and an appointment. And our secretary didn't know who it was. So fortunately, he had the presence of mind to put him in a boardroom. And she looked around. She couldn't find anyone. I was passing by. She got rid of me. So why don't you come and meet this man? So I also had some sense. I don't know. I mean, I had some sense, but I had no idea of the scale and vision. So he asked me, young man, where's your boss? Who's your boss? So I said, my boss is Balmukar. So I know Balmukar. Where is he? Yes, he's abroad. He said, well, I'm Dr. Kurian. Why don't you, I want to invite you guys to come over to Anand. Yeah. And, it suddenly dawned on me, there's a big man there. And the true story, Obviously, I was stuttering and, loss of words. But nevertheless, he put me at ease and he said, come over. So the fact that the man could come himself for an agency discussion to the office unannounced, I was amazed. And then, of course, we went in 7 days, 8 days later, a bunch of us, by then the bosses realized Bal was still not there, but a bunch of others went in, 7 of us. And fortunately, I was the junior most was sitting in the corner. The others, Sinha, who was from Viva, started to see himself saying, and there's chap called Siva, all MBAs from good institutes, all had worked in multinationals. And started to see themselves, Dr. Kurian saying, Dr. Kurian, I am such and such, and from Levers, and this one from this. He went on. And Dr. Kurian took off. He said, that's the problem with this country. I'm telling you the story in 1986, sir. He says, you guys, you join, you spend so much of government money and you join, and you tell stories of, you make blue soap. Blue soap doesn't work, you make red soap. Red soap doesn't work, then you make green soap. Is that what you're paid for? Is that what your story is? Come. And then you passionately spoke for 1 hour on the passion of the cooperative movement, how it's come. I was sniggering from the side. Thankfully, because Baita did not come to introduce, so he didn't know, what my background was. Such thing. So he said, young man, why are you laughing? So Dr. Kurian liked, in a polite, nice way, someone who talked to him. No one who went so survived to him. So I said, sir, it's opening up my eyes, what you're saying, but at the same time, it's humorous that, how we are on the wrong foot. Okay. So from that day, if I may say so, you my guru took a liking to me. And till the time we still work with Amul, I'm still very active with them. I'm still hands-on in the business. By the time he passed away, Dr. We learned a lot from him. Our advertising meetings was. With the permission, tell you one more story.
Please
So
go
he
ahead.
said, you
It's your
start small.
platform,
So
Shashi.
he took us a very interesting story. So he took us to 2 days of. He told his teams, you go through everything, and when he came in, he said, listen, I don't believe in that time. There's no concept of pitch. He said, I believe in long-term partnerships. Once I hire someone, then they'll be with me for life, which I've shown with ESPN, Radius, and Dakuna. They still continue. Dakuna continues. The other agency is closed down. Otherwise, Dr. Kuran will continue with that. So he says, I'm going to get a partner, but I'll start small. So there's a product which he gave us. He said, there's a milk powder, which is very strong in the East. Amulya, that's the product. So he said, you do this and, you turn around and you come back. So 15 days later, we were back with Dr. Kuran. By the way, he used to sit in all advertising meetings. He enjoyed advertising. And he said one more thing too. So we went in. So Sinha, me, 3-4 of us went in. So with Pack Designs, the brand name Amulya was a no-brainer because Amul's original derivative, Amul came from Amulya, derivative of that. So we went with Pack Designs, Fireside Pack Designs. So now everyone was so intimidated with Dr. Kurian that no one had the guts to say which one do we recommend. So Dr. Kurian saw the designs are very good. Which one? So everyone's dumbstruck. So there was pregnant pause and so very painful. That's such a big man saying which one, and everyone.
No one's responding, and then you picked up a pack, and he liked that.
So right? I picked up a pack. So I picked up a pack, and I put my finger on that green pack, which is still there. And he said, done. Okay, and he got up and walked out. And after that, all that broke loose because everyone piled on to me. So what have you done? I said, well, none of you spoke. Others, so Dr. Kurian gave a message that day. He said, listen, you're my professionals. And I want you to have a point of view when you come in. I want to stand by that point of view. I will not question it. I'll ask questions, but I'll not question your decision. The decision will be yours. And I'm proud to say that, including Mr. Sodhi, all the way down 30 years down the line, they follow that. I don't know too many clients, who don't. They may have a point of view. They may argue. Finally, they respect what you say. This is your call. You're accountable. The second thing he said to us, he said, listen, every mistake is allowed. You're allowed thousands of blunders. No financial integrity. Anything goes wrong in integrity, without batting an eyelid, will be out. So we made many blunders. We made many mistakes. Dr. Kurian pardoned a lot. He's a legend. And his perspective, his vision was deadly. You would get up in the morning, you would think through carefully. So, we were young, but so he never questioned us on advertising, but he would test a conviction. And then, it's all about his vision. His perspective was so dramatically different. I've not seen anyone, any CEO who would think so outside the box. Because the whole thing was nation building. We are so worried about our brands and our markets and our companies and profit. More about nation building and everything was derived from that. So, long answer to a short question you asked. That
Not really. I think it was a very insightful answer. Please stop apologizing. Please talk. This is your platform.
I was so lucky to have crossed paths with him at that age in '86. While I learned a lot in advertising, but I think one of the high points, in fact, probably the most defining moment was to having worked with Dr. Kurian for so long.
Okay, so I'll ask you, what are the main things that you imbibed from what he working with him? What did you imbibe from working with him, which have helped you in good stead now? I'll come to Billy later.
Yeah, so I think many things, but I think, like I said, very strong focus on integrity, having conviction, thinking the big picture. These are three big things. What Dr. Kurian did, and now first with 35 years behind me on the Amul story, I know exactly how the movement was started, the popular movement. But to think big, to think at that point in time this is possible, and from where he started. So I think there can't be too many Dr. Kurians, but he really taught us that, be true to yourself. You're not a hypocrite. He would say the most outlandish things to the most senior people. He would be bothered. And I think some of us may not be as direct as him, but definitely being true to yourself, being understanding, what you believe in, having a point of view, I think is something which we want. His perspective and his vision is very, very difficult. And of course, the fact that integrity matters a lot. It matters to yourself. It is in your DNA. It's your moral compass more than anything else.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that. Do you remember the day when we first met up? Don't respond as yet. You guys were all dressed up in. You'll have your blazers, your jackets, and you didn't look like the advertising types. And Billy used to boast. You were kind of a greenhorn, I thought, at that time.
Yes.
Working with Billy, an aggressive, almost bulldog kind of an executive. That's what I used to call him. You're a bulldog. Yeah. How much did working with him help you shape your career? Did you ever think at that stage?
So Anil is the other man. I never call him Billy. I used to call him Anil all the while. So he's the other man. I think so. Dr. Puran had one set of perspectives. Of course, Anil being my immediate boss, and I spent more closer time with Anil, so obviously I know him a lot more.
You never called him Billy, do you? Why do we
I
call?
never.
Why call him Billy?
Psychological. So I'm a good army background. You
Yeah.
see. So my father very early taught me the boss is sir. So it took me a lot of effort to call Anil by his first name. So Billy was a nickname. So I never ever. So it's very difficult to brother Barry. So I never ever called him Billy. I always called him Anil.
Because I remember him calling me and telling me, in those days I used to be with Business World. I remember him fighting the shit out of me and telling me, you did this badly, you did that badly, you
He
can do
could be
better.
very aggressive.
Yeah. And I respect him for that.
Yeah, he could be very aggressive. So I think 2-3 things, while everyone says Anil taught us marketing and advertising, that I think is a bit of a stretch. But what he taught us was having guts. I mean, exact example you gave, I have seen him say such things to clients, including Dr. Purin. I mean, tough situation. Dr. used to like him a hell of a lot, by the way. And I've seen him, the ability to, he would say the most difficult things to, I remember one, again, my life is all stories, so storytelling. We were presenting at that time, as you said, Ulka was a small company not doing well, even the turnaround story. And we were presenting, Air India that time was wanted to launch a campaign. Never took off. Mr. Gupta was the chairman. So we had gone through multiple rounds. JWD was the incumbent, and there was no possibility of us competing with JWD. But finally, with the shortlist, and we were presenting to the board, and the minister was also there. Mother of Sindha used to be the minister, and we were presenting Mr. Gupta, Mother of Sindhya, Mr. Bhargav, Jitendra Bhargav, who were leading it. And typical style, we had done multiple campaigns, and Mr. Sindhya had said so much time, 1 hour. So my colleague and me were presenting, I was standing presenting that time, I remember. And we thought we would run out because Anil could speak. So thought we were running out of time, So, and then multiple campaigns. So, instead of giving too much of a logic, we started showcasing the work. So Anil got irritated and he said, dekho. So Mr. Gupta, I think the CMD said, you have something more to show. So Anil looked at me and said, dekho, unko sari kharid rahe aur dekho, red nahi pasand aaya, blue, he went on that Dr. Purin line, So Mother of Sindhya started laughing because he understood that this man is passionate. He believes in what he thinks is the right campaign, but we are pushing him to show options. So I think that guts, I mean, can you imagine in those days, at that Air India, I mean, the thing to make a statement like that, and many such episodes. He had guts, he could say, and clients used to take to it because they would like, as you correctly said just now, people were happy that someone is giving back, they're not being servile. He could, of course, a lot of people used to say, I remember one client of mine, very dear friend of mine in Godrej, when we went to meet below Mr. Godrej, there used to be Mr. Lam, who used to be the business side, the president of the division, and his number 2 very dear friend of mine. So after Anil gave Mr. Lam a speech, this friend of mine said, I won't take his name, but he's still there in Godrej. He said, very dear friend, he said, don't you lose business, you must be losing tons of business. 9 times out of 10, 9 out of 10 people, where they would be affronted that what Anil is saying so aggressively. So he taught us the art of confidence. I mean, that advertising doesn't necessarily mean, service industry doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be servile. You have to, you can be graceful, you can be polite, but you have to have a point of view. So there were contrasts. At one level, similarity with Dr. Puri, another level, contrasts.
Absolutely. So did you ever think at that stage that you'd be where you are today? Or
not at all.
Yeah.
I was, if I may confide, I never said this to anyone, but Alvin knows it. So I was in Ulka, and I think 2000, early 2000 or so, if I remember right, Apurva was there and she'd worked with us, and we said we set up a media department. I had shown some interest in media, and I thought we'd come in. So he said, "Why did you handle it?" I was in servicing. I used to run Ambi and me used to run the Bombay branch. But he said, why don't you handle media? So I said, yeah, sure. And Apurva appointed his name Lodestar. Kalpana was there. We had a good team. Nandini came in later. The team, but one of the strengths of Ulka was, and which we carried forward to Mediabrands, we retain our people, they stay with us. So Apurva, the girl called Arpita, but Arpita was the architect of the brand name. She set up the media department. I used to oversee it, And so it went on well. Then Apurva left, we were doing, but we were very small. We were struggling. We used to win awards, but we were extremely small. It was hardly 5-6% of our revenue. The revenue Lodestar was just about 5-6, maybe less than that. And then one fine day, it was in 2004 or 2005, he turned around and called me, and Nagesh was sitting there. And he said, I think, first, I don't know if you know this, for 1 year I did a regional role. So Anil fought. They said you moved to Hong Kong and for FCB, the FCB media role, and they said you moved there. And Anil said, no way. There's no capabilities in India. You have to house the role from India. So the role was out from here. And then they disbanded that role because for whatever reason they felt, this regional roles don't work. And I strongly believe regional roles are very painful roles. So Anil called me one day, said, your exposure to media, we are very small. And why don't you spin off and set up media as a separate company? So I said, sure. I mean, I thought about it. I consulted some friends. So a couple of my very, very dear friends said, he's sidelining you. He's going to give Ambi the job of running Ulka. And I'm saying this for the first time in a public forum. So he said, but so you quit, look for another job. So I said, no, I think Anil has a perspective. Let's now not go that path. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. We moved away. Ulka should be Nariman Point. We moved away.
From the Nirmal building, right? You were in Nirmal building.
Yes.
So I remember Azim's office would be above
correct, absolutely. So I said to Anil, the only request I have is we need a separate office, a separate entity. We're creating a separate unit. So he knew my independent streak. He said, the guy will run away, but he said, nevertheless. So we moved to first on Haynes Road. We had a small office there, and then we moved to Raghuvanshi Mills. So we started there, and never in my wildest dreams, I thought, so it took me some time to sort my mind out that this is a job worth taking. Then I went to 2-3 people, Ashutosh Srivastava, a good friend of mine, used to run
I remember
that time. I told it to Ashu, I said, what do you say? So Ashu says, buddy, this is a game of critical mass. You guys may be doing good in strategy and winning awards and all fine, but this is 2004. We're doing your first awards for this MV's agency of the year. We were piddly, but we were the first agency. Rupe was not. It was us. Roadstar was the first agency of the year. Everyone asked, who is Roadstar? And then again in 2002, we were the one. So twice, alternately, we had won. And then, of course, Rupe took over. So I got to Ashu, so he knew about us. He said, it's a tough one. It's about critical mass and scale. You guys will never get there. Said, okay, fine. I heard him. Then I went to another very dear friend of mine who won't mention. So she said that, it's all about, why are you worried about profit? It's all about being a service provider to a credible agency. Large agency, how does it matter? So I said, but if you don't make profit, you have no value. Global companies respect you. So he said, no, you don't worry about it. So I charted my course. I said, you have to be somewhere in the middle of what Ashu and this lady said. You have to be in the middle of that. And God has been kind. And from there, we started to, whatever you may called out, 18-20%. As per ECMA, we 18-20% share. Pretty sizable. Luck plays a big role. Fate came in, Tata's had a consolidation. Tata's broke up. Another person whom I respect and regard hell of a lot, Mr. Ravikant, who was the vice chairman of Tata Motors that time. Very high regard and affection for him. Even
wasn't
today,
he with Titan earlier? The same Ravikant.
He was to be a Titan, but then when my past crossed with him, he was Titan. Then he went to LML, and then third part came in my life. He was with Tata Motors, and then when the AOR broke up from TME, we were there. So as soon as Anil said you set up media separately, I set it up. There was no business, hardly any business internally. And then Tata Motors, we presented to Mr. Ravikant. He quite liked what we did. And from there, then another Tata company came, and many others, and of course, Anil was there. Story changed. So today it looks very easy, but it was a tough time at one point in time, I think, right thing. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I would not have thought in 2004, 2005 when I started. And then IPG started consolidating, and we were the smallest. We were the smallest between McCann, which was very big. Chintamani Rao used to run the McCann that's called. They used to run Initiative, and Roadstar was a very small engine. So first they combined, Roadstar with gave me Roadstar to run, which is in 2007. A chap called Nick Bryan, who's the global CEO, came in, and then of course 2012, as you said, there was Mediabrands.
Wow. I mean, and the journey went on from there. So
we've been lucky after that.
And then the acquisitions happened, further and further acquisitions.
Yeah, 2013, the digital company. So we've been working with them for some time. They were friends of ours. I knew them well, and finally, life is all about relationships and partnerships. So Natish, who used to be the head of this team of 5 of them who started, who unfortunately now left the business with health reasons. So he and me knew each other well, and we had won a business in Intel. We had no digital capabilities. Again, this is, I think, 2008-9. And so I walked up to him, we worked together. We worked in partnership. We worked for 5-6 years, and then we said, okay, why don't we work together? So in 2013, when we acquired, with the global company acquired Interactive Avenues, which now is today a very powerful part of our story and probably contributes more than 40-50% of our profit. Digital is where they're very, very big. So, they had a bid. They had a bid which was higher than us, which IPG bid. But they said, no, we have a comfortable, we have worked together as partners, as collaborators, as affiliates for the last 5-6 years. So they came to us, and that's what it was.
Wow, now there's so many brands in the group. I I was speaking to Ashish Bcci yesterday. The acquisitions he's done. Has your acquisitions appetite is over, or are you still on the
No,
lookout?
we've just done so there are multiple brands, but finally we're consolidating, and only one acquisition we did was with digital, which is Interactive, which also I told you a story. So I am a big, and I see Ashish's point of view, because he said if I had to grow, how would I grow? I have to grow inorganically, and that was his story, and rightly so. There are many ways to achieve the same end result. My personal belief is slightly different, and this is my belief, and I'm not saying this because word acquisitions happen all the time. I personally believe, acquisitions are all about merging with the culture, managing them. And our acquisition happened in 2013. Now the earnout is over. And I'm proud to report that the core team, the top 10, 15 managers who were there in 2013 in the digital side are still with us 7 years later. So be it Amar, who's at Zip, Shantanu, Anjali, who are part of the founding team, or the team below them, one level below, they've all been with them. They've grown with IA. So I think, what happens is that assimilating cultures, ensuring people work together, it's not easy. Entrepreneurship and multinational companies, and globally, uh, 80 to 90% acquisitions fail. If you see the strike rate, so I'm not saying overall, but I'm saying in the advertising industry, most acquisitions fail for the primary reason. Fail means they get subsumed and other people are forgotten. Because cultures don't match. Entrepreneurs have different vision. Global companies are very quarter-driven, budget-driven, all kinds of mismatches. So I believe in being slow and steady on acquisitions. So a lot of ideas come to us. Like I said, I told you the Interactive Avenue story. These boys that worked with us for 5-6 years, we were partners. They saw us, we saw them. So when we did the acquisition, it was easy. So I genuinely, it's not, for me, it's not fashionable. A lot of people come to us saying that, why don't you acquire us? Especially in the new age area, be it digital, be it tech, whatever it is. But I'm
You have enough capabilities on the technology side.
Capabilities you need to do more, but then for me, it's always better to get into partnerships. So workout partnerships, acquisitions are different meanings, multiples, and all that, and then you're honoring expectations. So we have a lot of. I am not shy of building loose relationships and partnerships which are on revenue sharing and profit sharing rather than I'm hung up on owning 51%. The global companies always hung up on getting that onto our balance sheet. So I very differently. Like the Interactive story started 5 years later, we got into a acquisition. So I have a slightly different view, maybe call it old-fashioned, call me maybe behind times. But I genuinely believe everyone talks culture, but I walk the talk on culture. If you talk to my teams, so I have 50 weaknesses. But one of my strengths is that I manage culture, and I genuinely believe that to be culture fit.
Great. So, what about the other agencies? BPN, Reprise, Rapport, Kedrion?
These are brand names. So actually, there are three broad engines. If I may say to you, they're all small. There's Lostra. So there are three broad. There are small units, but the three big engines are Lostra UM, which in them there are two separate agencies, Lostra and UM for conflict reasons and other reasons. But finally, it's one company runs. Initiative BPN. BPN is a part of Initiative. When it suits us, we call it BPN, but Initiative is the main agency, which is a very, very bright and very articulate colleague of mine called Shashi. She runs it. She's also been insider with us for more than 15 years, like Honorary. Another is very high profile. That girl is not, but she's very good. And then the digital company, which is multiple brand names within digital, but Reprise or Interactive Avenues, which Amar and Shantanu and Anjali, three of them run together. I must tell you another thing, with most people talk of this, and I may, not because I've been there for quite some time. My leadership team is of 10 people, my immediate leadership. So perhaps the only agency group in the country where 50% are women.
Wait, sorry, I didn't get you.
50% are women.
Okay.
Everyone talks of gender balance and stuff like that. We are perhaps the only agency network in the country where 50% are women. And the two key brands are run by women. So both Lostra, Nandri Raj, Initiative, which is the other big brand, and its clients like Amazon and Bajaj and so on, is run by Vaishali. And it's happened that way. It's not because I went out of my way to ensure that it's gender neutral, but it just happened that people grew that way and they wanted to leadership positions. All of them insiders. The other thing is not a single person has come in from outside. They've all been 15 years, 12 years, grew into those jobs.
So what is it that keeps people hanging on with?
Us there. ask them. We're not the best paymasters, but it's an easy place to work. Like I said earlier, we take time building, becoming insiders, but once we become insiders, we care for each other. We are in it together. We may not be very close personal friends, but having said that, at work we are very supportive of each other. We step in for each other. And this Anil taught us. Anil taught us very few maxims which I personally continue with. So we say the horses for courses. It's not necessarily that because I'm the boss, I'll know everything else, or Nandini is the boss, she'll know everything. There's something we'll not know. She'll cover up for me, I'll cover up for her. Bcci knows something which I don't know, she'll cover up for me. So, we step in for each other. Anil's classic example used to be football, and football is also a favorite game, but there used to be, football is, you keep changing positions, the European way of playing football, total football. So you keep changing positions. Anil used to be a big believer in psychology and that. And he used to say, so I think a lot of those things which we've learned when we were growing up has really proven. Because I think there's a lot of emphasis on skills in Indian corporate life. There's limited emphasis on teamwork. Everyone uses fashionable teamwork, but no one has explained it to us. We, in our growing up years, Anil took us through programs on teamwork, how teamwork is done, what it means, how does each one's behavior change, for salary development. I think there's a big fair degree of emphasis on that.
Yeah. So, in terms of, because you've retained your teams, is it that why, is that the reason why your retention of clients is pretty high?
I am not able to analyze that. I'm strange. I mean, I'm not thinking as I speak, since you asked this question. I think they're both interrelated, not related. So interrelated, yes, teams are constant and people want change, but I think it's the basic philosophy of working together. So you look at Tata, you look at Mahindra, you look at Amul, you look at Zodiac. I mean, their clients, I don't know how many years they worked with us. So the other thing is we are very hands-on. So, finally in our business, clients want senior advice. Finally, in a manner of speaking, we are in the advisory business, we're in the consultancy business. So a lot of times, just before this, I was doing a call with a client, may not be a very large client for us in terms of revenue, but again, an old client. I don't mind naming him, Agrotech, a very dear friend of ours, Shashi, the CMO. So, and we were talking, his business, fortunately, one of those few people whose business has done reasonably well in the last 5 months. Snacks and snacking has gone up and all. He's sharing with us. And he's asking for basic advice on how do we build a business plan for future. So I think when Nandini, me, or all of us, where we are hands-on and we give. So I think clients like that. So when you run organizations, someone asked me, I haven't mentioned who, that as a CEO of Mediabrands, how much time do you spend with your, So I said, listen, for me it's very simple. 50% with my clients, 50% with my people. So that's too much. You spend too much time with clients. You meant to do a lot more finance. That's not my job. Finance is as I constantly say in all my meetings, the numbers are not a leading indicator. They're a lagging indicator. That's the output which comes out. So a lot of people chase. So they expect you to do a lot of other stuff. You ask me to do tech, I can't do tech. You ask me to do contracts, I can't do contracts. Finance, I'm okay. I understand finance, but it's not a matter of pride for me. So I think so I've made it simple. By the way, for me, everything becomes simple. I try and simplify everything. So I think the thing which you said, that long-term relationships which you spoke about, is primarily because of we invested in a client. Seniors are there. We're there for everything. Nerolac, another client who's been there for many years with us. So that's true of Hulka. That's true of us at Mediabrands. Old relationships. Look at Coke. Coke has been there 10 years now. It's a global company. Every 3 years they do an audit and they do a review and they call it 10 touchwood. 10 years, not a bad
Yeah, touchwood, really, touchwood, as they say. I mean, there's wood here, sawdust.
Yeah, no.
In those days, that's what, amongst us, we used to joke that touch your head, the sawdust, and the busa hai, as we used to say. But coming back, yeah, so, what percentage of your client portfolio is new and what percentage is been there with you for more than 10 years?
In 10 years, actually quite a bit. So I will not do the numbers, but from a revenue standpoint, I think almost 70%, 60%, 70% will be more than 10 years.
I mean, that is laudable in this day and age.
Yeah. So it'll be less than 30% will be new. No, so the other way of looking at it, the Goras say, what, aren't you picking up enough new business that you should get more business? I said there are two things, it's always more profitable to retain existing business because it's a lot more profitable. Churn well, gives you a good feeling of high internally that I won new business. The hunters in the team always want churn. They're very happy with churn. But it's not profitable because, you have to invest that much more in building relationships, not only in terms of money, but in terms of time, in terms of value add, all that you have to do. I mean, one of the toughest pitches we did was Samsung. Samsung, as a Korean company, very process driven. We retained it. I mean, I think one of the reasons we retained was they saw what we agreed to share, we agreed to share with them. It's India's largest company. My competitor came and gave them a far better value in terms of product offering, in terms of discount, but they realized that we were true. So there are many such examples. I mean, there are many. It's not that we don't lose business. We do lose business. Some clients want churn. But I think probably our retention rate would be perhaps one of the best in the industry.
Yeah, and I believe that it's best to partner in time and grow the brands that you're partnering and grow with them.
It's, and if I may say, this is actually, and this Anil taught us, again, Anil, not fair to Anil, but I think it's more difficult when an American company, when everything depends on quarter performance, year-end performance. So, people tend to take shortcuts. I think we've been lucky that we're able to balance the short term with the long term. And I think that goes, India's a growing economy and we've ridden that wave, Maybe if India was slowing down and India not growing, maybe it would have been a different story for us. I would have taken shortcuts. But I've been lucky that, in spite of me, growths have been coming, so I can take a philosophical stance which is different from what the rest of the world is.
So being part of a global organization, how much freedom do you think you have to run it the way you want? Because I know there are benefits being part of a global organization, etc. But oftentimes, the imposition of those values at times don't work in a country, or those processes.
So on a good day, I said, listen, I have all the freedom. On a bad day, I said, listen, these guys tie your hands up. I have come to the conclusion that, and this is a conclusion, touch wood, we're lucky, that, and I have a great relationship, I've always had a great relationship with all the CEOs of global networks. I have a very complex structure. I work with Mediabrands CEO Daryl, but I also, for some part of the business report, I'm on the board of FCB and I report with, so I'm part of that reporting hierarchy. I have a great relationship with our overall holding company chairman, Michael Roth. So I'm not dropping names, but it's the comfort we built up. I genuinely believe, if you build on a track record, so you have to deliver on certain things. The American system and probably the global system is very, you can't get away by saying, I'll do this and not do it. So there's a problem, call it out. If there's no problem, say upfront at this board. And we have had a great run, 6-7 years, we have delivered on numbers. And or we have called out whatever we have. We've been direct and this thing. So they see a steadiness and they see transparency. So then they leave you alone. They don't. Yes, on a day-to-day basis, the job is to ask questions. The regional teams will ask hundreds of questions. The processes, the checks and balances. But like I said, on a good day, I'm happy. There are many advantages of a global network. On a bad day, you feel a thing. Net, it's not too difficult. It's reasonably easy to manage.
Fantastic. That's a good insight. Now, this pandemic, how has it upset the plans of the, actually Ashish was telling me yesterday that advertising has not built value. Today, most of the global groups are down in terms of the valuations and the top lines. So, he mentioned that the advertising groups, the share prices are suffering. They're not doing very well globally because we're not able to build that extra edge as compared to tech companies.
So I'm not saying to Ashish. I don't know if Ashish and me are dear friends. As my, I don't know what the term for it is, as my dear friend Lynn D'Souza used to be my predecessor initiative, called it out, that we were all together in the IPG group, Lynn, Ashish and me, that she used to say, if you muddle up Ashish, you get Shashi. The alphabet is the same, I don't know what the term for that is, So we are dear friends.
No, he didn't specifically refer to you all. He didn't specifically refer to you all. He referred
No.
to the whole
What I'm going to say next. No, what I'm going to say next is going to be, that's what I'm saying. What I'm going to say is not countering what Ashish just said. I'm qualified by saying good, but I have a different view. See, we tend to undervalue ourselves. That's human nature. We always want to self-flagellate, and that's what it is. So yes, advertising may have lost value to a certain extent. But having said that, they are taking strikes. Each of the holding networks, I'm not talking about ourselves, but every network is taking steps into data, into digital. And the other thing which I say, and I've said this to Ashish also in public forum where we had this debate, it's all very fine to say tech companies are coming in and the big consultancies are coming in, See, we have this unique capability as advertising that we have a service industry mindset And we also have analytical skills which are different. This is very unique. And we work at price points which no one can match. So to our ability to do product, it's all very fine to say that you must get more paid more. That's fine. But the fact is that we're all making that, all the groups are making money. It's not that they're not. You saw Market's statement the other day that the verses behind us were coming back in WP, the largest group. So I think they're all reporting profits. Percentages may vary depending on the years. But I think we probably self-flagellate a lot more. I mean, I was very impressed. I remember I was with my client Amazon in India the day IPG a year and a half, 2 years back bought this company Axiom, which is a data company. I was very impressed. I mean, I in my wildest dreams never thought that we could buy something like that $2 billion acquisition. So, and every company has done it since then. Publicis has done it, Dentsu's done it, all of them have done. So, I think somewhere in our own way, we will stumble, but we'll get there. I don't think it's, and finally, don't forget, it's a luscious business. It's a business, as Piyush Pandey defines, it's all about the intangible which you're creating. That you can't take away from us, So we may be the numbers people behind, but the front is there. So I have a slightly different point. Yes, there are a lot of challenges in the business, but basically this is a business of fun which we enjoy, and we give a life to it. So why should we discount that?
Okay, thank you. Now coming back again. So, but I remember in the 80s and 90s, margins were hefty.
Yeah.
My God. I think advertising executives the world over, sorry if I'm going to sound a little profane, but their mistresses, their jets, all of them were financed by clients. So the business has changed.
But the fact is that they're still making money.
Yeah.
So absolute business change. Mad Men no longer exist. Mad Men exists in a different form. So you're right there. Business change and business keep evolving. Maybe 20 years later, it'll be a different business altogether. But the fact is, it is profitable. If you see holding company networks, see individual brands in the holding company networks. Holding company networks become fat, they have made investments somewhere. Not only fat, they made investments. But if you look at margins, media companies, where Ashish can speak for himself.
No, Ashish didn't say this. This is my view. Sorry.
No, I'm saying so all the companies at the end of the day, margins are reasonably all right. It's not that they're suffering,
Okay, but the future outlook from investors is a little subdued.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. There are two ways of looking at it.
Yeah.
So future outlook definitely subdued. If you see old school companies if you shift gear and you go to industry, and old school companies like today valuation for tech companies and tech related edu companies is one. And
look at Tesla, for instance. Look at Tesla versus GM.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would find that CPG companies valuations are one kind, FMCG companies, and you find tech companies and e-com companies valuation another kind. So valuation is something which is future. You're chasing something which is a different thing altogether. But
should advertise change? It's changing its mindset. Should it change its image, its positioning, the way it's looked at, advertising the world?
Definitely, there's no doubt that they should change their position. They have to adapt to tech, and they should be more future ready. I have no doubt in my mind on that. I mean, how can you say that you shouldn't do that? Having said that, I genuinely feel that we, like I said earlier, we tend to self-regulate a lot more than we should.
Okay.
So we need to be. They're profitable companies. They're big groups. Share prices are whatever they are, but share prices for everyone is down just now because of what's happening in COVID. But
no, excepting Amazon and Tesla, which keeps on pumped up.
Yeah, the Nasdaq is doing what it is doing. There. That's why Indian stocks also, you see, Indian stocks are doing so well. For the love of us, the price earning multiples are 50, 60, you never heard of before.
Yeah, so coming back again. So now the pandemic, what has it done to you? Let's say your contribution to the global, is it what? Is it about 7% to the global?
Yeah, it's that rate. Yeah.
7%.
I keep trying to pull a con on them by saying apply purchasing power parity. I said that's fine. Finally, the bean counter says the number is in dollars. So if you apply purchasing power parity, India is a strong market for IPG, so we do well. But very few markets. IPG is number 4, number 5 group in the world, and there are very few markets in the world, big markets. Probably big market, India is the only market. But even otherwise, there are very few markets where in the top 2. So we have a special position. That's one of the reasons why we also think. But yes, everyone's affected. So if your question was going to be that has the ranking changed?
No, not just the ranking. I'll come to that later, the ranking part. What I'm going to state is that what kind of pressures has it put on managements and on...
Oh, there's tremendous pressure. So the pressure is because we're American company, stock market driven, moderator driven. So they're saying maintain margin. So I think, the thing is that they're not chasing revenue. They're not saying that you deliver a 20% growth or a 10% growth or a 3% reduction. They're not saying that. They say whatever you do, end of the day, maintain your margin. Now that, as you know, has big implications. When you're maintaining margins means, from a stock exchange point of view, that's critical for them. And this is a New York Stock Exchange traded company. So that has challenges, and that's where I'm holding on. So maintaining margins means job losses and all that. I'm happy to report so far I've held on. There have been salary cuts, but because India has no social security, so I managed to hang in there. I'm a bit old-fashioned in that manner, I'm not. I believe in old-term values, and so that will not be brutal in that sense. Let's see how long it lasts.
No, but that's to your credit that you're managing to.
We have cut costs elsewhere. So we've cut costs elsewhere. I said this, I had a nomination. Anuradha was interviewing me on 20th March, just before they started. We never knew how bad it would be. But I said to on the TV18 program, saying that, media dialogue, I said, listen, this challenge pressure will come. I'm happy to report 5 months down the line, I've held up to the pressure. They keep putting pressure on me. Just yesterday, they were putting pressure. What have you done? They said nicely. So I said, listen, margin is there, IPL is happening, we're wishing it away. But, I genuinely believe because people have worked with us for 15 years, 20 years, these are legacy companies. Now, suddenly you can't turn around and say, times are tough, do something. We are cutting costs. It's not that we've not cut costs, we've done salary cuts, all that we've done. But it's been relatively lighter than a lot of other markets.
Yeah. So now there's been an impact. Revenues are down up to, I think, should be down about 30-40%, but you have to maintain your margins.
April, May, June, they were down 30%. They're coming back now. So on a full year basis, we are a Jan December company. So we have the benefit of Jan, Feb, March, and hopefully September, October, December will be there. So I think aggregate level, if you're lucky, we won't be down 20-30%. Will be less if you're lucky.
I understand. So what's your sentiment coming? I mean, you're saying it's up, but the feeling I get is that we are saying it. The actual sentiment is not up. No, if I'm wrong, correct me. I may be totally.
No, you're right. So I'll tell you what's happening. However, see, India is, and this is what Ashish and me agree on, India is a very sentiment-driven market. And a lot of marketeers and advertisers know this. So they are pumping in money in September, October to, hoping and praying that the sentiment responds. If it doesn't, then actually I have a different point of view. It will hit the first quarter of next year, which for Indian companies is actually this year, but for us it will be next year. So, companies will pull back. So they will put money, whatever money they have, because IPL stroke Diwali, this whole fervor of excitement happening just now because of Diwali and festival. So companies will they not put all the money back. It's unfair to say that they'll go back to last year level, but they will give it a shot, whatever the shot is.
So you're getting that from your clients?
Oh, definitely.
You're going to give it a solid
shot. You see,
because Onom wasn't that good. Onom was muted.
Yes, Onom very localized there. But you see, I'm sorry for coming back to IPL, but if you see IPL, when whatever, I don't know why Star is not availing the clients they've signed on, but whatever we're hearing and whatever we're seeing of our clients who are signed on, or signing on, not signed on, but who are signing on, if that happens, maybe put it this way, it was far better than my expectations. I never thought that, people will do IPL, big ticket money, you're there, you can't pull money out. It's premium pricing, all that put together. So to put a punt on that is a statement of sentiment. And in fact, I'm quite surprised why Star is not going on record and saying these are the pretty guys who signed on an IPL just now.
You'll have to check out with Uday and the sales head. What's his name?
Anil Jairaj.
Anil, yeah. Why are they not coming on? Because that would really swing a lot of
absolutely
and bring a lot of optimism into.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it.
So that's something. Probably they do it in the time when it's right. So, of course, on the other hand, you've got the Bcci, which seems to be having a bit of a struggle on getting sponsors.
They had a gravy trail. It's like what you call refer to it advertising earlier. That the same thing. You get Vivo for 440 crores or whatever the figure was. That's a gravy trail. So sometimes the gravy trail has to stop. So what are the fair
But it's
prices?
I believe, across the line, there are challenges. Down the line with different sponsorship levels.
See, I personally believe, I've friends with Bcci, but I personally believe, for most established companies, a ground sponsorship really doesn't make too much sense. you know, television, you're communicating your story, moving consumers, you're doing a lot of stuff, you're motivating them. But so I'm a bit foxed thing. So I wouldn't be too perturbed. I mean, a lot of my clients asked us, "What's your view?" And I was ambivalent on the ground sponsorship. But on TV, I'm not. TV, I was asking, I'm saying, this makes a lot of sense. Time to motivate your customers. I mean, the Amul story, Mr. Sodhi's got, I don't want to repeat it. Mr. Sodhi's got tired of telling the story. It's all about trust. And I said, in the pandemic, he advertised not because he wanted his sales to sales would have gone up, because if he delivers and the supply line is there, it's an established brand. So, I mean, I'm not taking credit because he advertised, sales went up because of the advertising we did for him. That could be partly true, but it's also a sentiment which was created, that these guys on air, they're spending money. Five other competitors will say, these guys do something, let's do something. So it's that small movement which starts with things. The same thing will happen in IPL.
Yeah, get it. So we are looking at IPL being this big spending spree that's going to happen. Then you have the, so sports will possibly take away 40% of the revenues at that time.
Whatever number, I mean, I've not
35, 40%.
So my worry, Anil, no one is saying, my worry is, God forbid, the economy don't turn around, or the thing don't happen to the marketing companies at least, then they will pull back first quarter, then Feb, March, which for a lot of companies is the last quarter of the year. Indian companies, so that is where the worry is.
So, okay, now, do I take Onam as an indicator, or do I dismiss it?
I personally would not take it as a strong indicator, because it's a localized market depending on which companies are strong in that, So
Ganpati was also muted.
Ganpati was muted. Ganpati is.
It's localized again, Maharashtra, a few states. I understand, but muted. So.
So listen. If you are thinking that if I'm saying I'm communicating it wrong, let me correct by saying that will there be a quick recovery? I'm not saying that. It's going to take time, because as the cases are going on, each government, state government is doing different things. Some are shutting down for 2 days a week. All that chaos is happening. I'm saying a lot of brands are wanting to invest at this point in time, maybe not at last Diwali scale, but definitely far, far higher, better than they were doing in July, August, to capture the festive season.
Okay,
and
great.
A lot of categories. You saw auto, what's happening? Auto is probably the worst category. You saw August sales. Now, whether there's pent-up demand, I don't know. There's no way of none of them know. But Maruti going by 20%, Tata Motors, of course, peculiar went by 40% for whatever reasons. So overall industry has gone up by 17-18% like to like over last year in August. That's a very big sign. I mean, auto is two-wheelers one can understand, but low ticket price. But auto going up so dramatically is that mean?
We're expecting a good puja. We're expecting a fairly, because West Bengal is another market which is.
It's normally a soft market. West Bengal has other complications. The elections coming up after quite some time. It's a peculiar market. But I would say the strong markets are, for consumer demand in Maharashtra, UP, Andhra. These are the big markets for normally most consumer purchase. And that is where the turn has to happen. The big 4-5 markets are these, Tamil Nadu. That's where the lift has to come.
And are you feeling that?
No, like I said, I am not, so I'm qualifying. I'm not seeing the uptake in demand just now. I'm just saying the marketing sentiment is that let us cash in on this festive.
Okay.
And there's some early signs coming. That's all.
So what are the early signs you're seeing?
Early signs, you see, like I told you, the auto sales. I told you there are many. I mean, who would imagine in this company? I was talking to a small client of mine, Indigo Paints, who works with us, one of our companies, and he was saying to me that he's an IPL. So I said, why IPL? So he said, listen, my sales are growing. I said, how can they be growing?
Because, this is Balakrishna Tires or which one?
Indigo Paints.
Indigo Paints, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So I said, why would someone allow people to come home and paint? I mean, that's the last thing you want. You would easily can defer that. So, well, firstly, the kind of products I sell are not necessarily coming home. They could be out for exterior or whatever it is. Secondly, my market share is low, so I'm eroding. So there are different challenges for him. So he gave me the man director there, very dear friend of mine, gave me 3 sets of explanations, which made sense. So there are people like that, The two-wheelers is a different thing. Look at Hero and Bajaj. They're growing because of things. So there are many such small things now. The growths are, people can't make out whether these are pipelines being filled. There's no way of measuring, There's no demand. I mean, there's no supply for the last 4-5 months. Is that pipeline getting filled or is it more? So we don't know. So will it come back to normal? Will our GDP be 7% growth? All that not going to happen. Right? I was just responding to saying that, the sentiment is positive and there will be an uplift. And there was limited point that I was actually, frankly, pleasantly surprised by what I'm seeing on IPL.
Sure.
Inshallah, that should play out when all the advertisers are announced by a star. But whatever little gossip I'm hearing and what I'm seeing of my clients, it seems to be far better than my expectations.
Fantastic. So what about the Premier League, which is another big, something which is very close to your heart?
I think Premier League will do well for different reasons altogether, my friend. Premier League has limited advertisers because the format of football is such. You don't have too much inventory to fill in order to value, which is very expensive. So from a Premier League standpoint, it's a very small, it's a niche. I mean, still in India, well, you and me may be fans, but in India, it's a niche sport for marketeers. So the value will contribute. I mean, IPL, if it picks up 1,500 to 1,000 crore, whatever the number they pick up is big. Right? Premier League will be very, very small. So it will do well, but that's not a symptom. That's not a torchbearer of the turnaround.
I get it. Yeah. So coming back again, so we are expecting, let's say, coming months, we are expecting great bounce backs during the festival period. Some of it going towards sport.
I'm not saying great bounce back, but bounce back definitely.
Bounce
great
back.
is a. I'm not.
No, but compared to July and August, it might be.
Oh
great.
yeah. There's no comparison.
I'm not comparing to last year. So we're expecting that. Yeah, some of it, there are a lot of top GEC properties coming out. There's KBC, there's Big Boss, and there's a lot of brand new shows, ZTV shows. They're investing. So do we see those shows getting a piece of the action that they deserve?
Definitely,
or do we see that?
Definitely. So whether they'll get all the action, I don't know, because also there'll be some cannibalization because of all of them coming together, including IPL. But I think if you're comparing with July, August, there will definitely be an upsurge. As soon as Shraddh is over, as now we are in the Shraddh period, but as soon as Shraddh is over, you will see an upsurge.
So tell me, Shraddhs are getting over by what, September 9th or 10th?
I think so. 10 days. So they just started yesterday or the day before. So probably yes, by 10th or so. You'll see the upsurge coming in. Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of the people in the business, they don't take into effect what is going on in the minds of the brand. Like you said, Shraddhs. Most of the agency people don't talk about this, like you said.
The marketers are very good. I mean, for them, this is a lifeline. So they understand. They understand markets. They understand local sensibilities. So, I mean, see, the one advantage or disadvantage of being in touch with your clients, talking to CMOs, is that you read their mind well. They know what's happening in their companies. And all of them are saying that, it's not as bad as we thought it would be. Let me put it the right way to put it. It's not as bad. And we'll definitely give September, October, November a shot.
Great. So there's unlocking, which has happened, the lockdown and the unlocking. What has it done to the culture of your people in your agency? Has it changed any culture? Has it changed
dramatically? It's changed dramatically. So there are three parts to it. Personally, it's been a bit of a, it's a low for me personally. I'm a big believer of touchy-feel, as a friend of mine says, my management is challenged by management by walking around. I'd hardly be in my room and walking around, talking to people, finding out. I'm not a big believer in structured meetings. I'd go walk up to people, sit in their chair, talk to them, bullshit with them, sit in my pantry. So that has killed me because, now you have formal meetings with an agenda, so all that has hurt me. There are 2-3 positives out of this. One thing is a lot of working women are finding it easier because their travel times are less, they can control their life. People who are structured, they say, listen, we will do 3 calls in a day, 5 calls in a day, but we'll check to the agenda. So meetings are tight. You're not doing the thing. So what I said is it works for me. Maybe for the others, it's working differently. What I'm finding, and that is a bit of a pain, that for a lot of middle to junior staff, bandwidth is a problem. So getting bandwidth going, India is not uniform all over. That's a bit of a Indian. Also, we live in joint families, big cities, joint families. So there's a lot of irritation, the family time being mixed up. Not given due to Delhi. So while we're making jokes of it, children popping into the meetings, that's fine. But it is creating disturbances. So if you ask me personally, while physically it seems to be that, we're not commuting and we are better, I would advocate that the faster we get back into meeting each other, spending time together, whatever physically safe and, right, it would be better. So I think all in all, and maybe my personal style is reflecting in this answer which I'm giving.
I get it, yeah. So we don't see that happening very much soon. We'll have to suffer silently.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you talk
my sympathies with you.
And this I learned with Anil, this is what Anil taught me. A meeting was meant to be 10 minutes, will last 2 hours. So that is, for me, that lasts 2 hours, it lasts 1 hour. You talk everything under the sun, And a lot of times meetings are not structured. Like I just walk up and talk to someone and sit down with them, say, what's happening in your life? Tell me what's new, what's happening in this client, what are you doing? And from the ideas would come. But that's the style. I mean, that's not a very structured and not a very American way of working, but that's what I was.
Yeah, but it's worked for you. I mean, different
horses,
different horses.
So far, I don't know what will happen if this continues, work home continues.
Yeah, so going forward, I mean, I'm looking at, let's say, are we expecting things to start opening up? I know we don't know. We're expecting the vaccine to come in. We're expecting all that to happen. But until then,
vaccine is going to be long, and vaccine is going to, by the time they implement it, down the line will be long. I think American companies are also getting, at least I can say for IPG, I get the sense that they're very happy with the idea of work from home. They feel for many reasons it's safe, because global companies always try to be safe on people-related issues. They want to be cautious. So I think, and I was saying I was having a chat with my global CEO Daryl yesterday. Same question he asked me. So his advice was that take it easy, and I think it'll be long drawn, because by the time you get permissions, there are local consultants to see that local CEOs are not in a hurry to get back into office. So I think it's going to be long haul, and we have to pay for it. And
so up to next March, maybe, or
I would think so. I mean, even if you open up, you will not open up. Seniors, juniors can't commute. Staff can't come in easily. So seniors may go in just to feel happy about it. But I think definitely in December is going to be tough in the full form. And as you said, the way we were earlier, not before March.
I understand. So, but then what are we going to do with all the real estate and all that?
These are long-term contracts, So we tried reducing some benefits. We have got minor benefits. But over a period of time, say 3-4 years, there'll be a dramatic change in this. That's the time all that will come in. But in the short run, I don't know if we can get all those contracts. The real estate guys are big guys, stuff. I don't know if you've seen our office. We have a 7-story office in Sakinaka. 1,000 people work out of that office across companies. So it's difficult to break those contracts. I mean, not only for reasons of contractual obligations, but even for emotional reasons. You know someone. Like I said, make friends. That landlord is a very dear buddy. I've become friends of mine in the last 2-3 years. So 4 years. So over a period of time, it'll change, but not in the short run.
Yeah. So coming back again to a point I was telling earlier, digital. Now, how do you see that evolving as far as your agency is concerned going forward? Because a lot more digital consumption is happening across, whether it's e-com, where there can be a lot of integration, gaming, where a lot of PUBG has gone, which has, I think, has broken many hearts in India of people who used to play it, but it has gone. So where I'm coming from is that where do you see the opportunities lie, and how do you see your group taking advantage of those?
So firstly, let me tell you the challenges, because it's very easy to sugarcoat it, but there are challenges. So we have two sets of people. One set of people who grew up, I'm not saying necessarily age, people like me, but a lot of others, who grew up in the conventional media. And even today, conventional media is very, very powerful. So even today, a lot of revenue comes from conventional media, clean client revenue. I'm not talking about all the back-end incentives and all that. Digital scores very heavily on. But client revenue, from a client point of view, digital is mind space, but the value still comes from traditional media. So we need both sets of people. Now the trick is to marry them. That's where the challenge is. So we have very competent people who do traditional media, very competent people who do digital media. Where the struggle is that how do we get them together to work closely and understand each other's points of view and skills. And that I don't know what other organizations are facing, but that's a challenge which we are battling. So, and we have got into many ways, we are creating cross-functional teams. We are saying client focus, client P&Ls rather than individual P&Ls. All that we're doing, taking a series of steps in that direction. But to me, I'm not sure whether we have foolproof answers to fix the challenge. So that's the challenge part. On the opportunity part, as you get young and more people, and I don't want to make the mistake which Marketing made by saying, the young people. But as, we always, and this is a tradition which came from Ulka, which from Anil, which I inherited, was we used to induct a lot of youngsters from fresh out of college. We run one of the largest management training programs. We used to call Star One there. We call it differently here. We call it Lead in Mediabrands. But the principle is same. So we bring in 20-25 people across teams, cross-pollinate them, put them different. So what I'm trying to do is, while at senior levels this gap will exist, youngsters today are savvy. So if you bring people in, put them for 3 months in a cross program, then you transfer them, say, okay, now you work 3 months in digital, 6 months in digital across brands, So for the young people, it's not a problem. We are fixing it by rotation and cross learning experience which you're giving them. The problem is people like me and people who are 15 years plus, where the problem is how to integrate. They were getting structures and processes. So the opportunities are huge. Uh, the thing is how to get compensated for it because, as you said, to another context, agencies are used to being compensated in a particular way. Agencies are not used to taking funds. So I run a small CRM team which is entirely digital, and then after that, very good at stickiness. So gets into a client, then the whole engine moves in. We work with many auto clients, not very profitable, but I kept it going. So I keep telling people when they say digital, I say digital is very important in the future, but just now your bread and butter is coming from this. So I think that balance has to be found, that you invest in digital, you invest in future readiness. At the same time, you keep the ship going.
Yeah, but I see going forward, everything's going to become ROI driven, and it's going to become brand building will be there, but that will be a lesser of a component in the money that a marketing manager is putting behind his product. So you look at results, it's already been there, but the trend is the pandemic has severely accelerated that. So unless we get that mindset with AI, machine learning, and with tools which are going to help you prove that to your client.
So absolutely, tie-ups, partnerships. So you can't invest in it yourself. There is a learning curve. There is a mindset. There is a capability which you cannot invest in. So that's why I talked about partnerships. I'm doing some preliminary work with again friends of mine, a large nice AI company doing work for banking and also doing work for us in the content area. But and we do a share. You say, listen, whatever revenue you get, they get the valuation, I get the revenue. So I'm not chasing their valuation. Sure. They're into a valuation trip, but I give them the credibility and the rev. So that's one way of addressing this, what you're saying, because it will be stupid for me to say that I'm changing the organization into that. It cannot. It will break. Anil used to say something nice to me: when a big 20,000 ton ship is sailing, if you have to turn it, you turn it fast, it'll break. We have a day job, we have stuff like so we are doing that kind of stuff there. Exposure, I think mindset is the third thing. Finally, we are client driven. If clients push us, we get pushed. So clients which are pushing, and we are grateful that we're working with clients like Amazon and Johnson & Johnson, which are very digitally savvy. So they push us, and therefore they ask for new capabilities, and we are delivering those capabilities.
Yeah, I'm going to shift you a year and a half down the line. How do you see your agency functioning? What do you see?
Oof.
Sorry,
No. I tell you why I was pausing. Yeah. So year and a half down the line, if
I know you're not thinking a year and a half. You're thinking a month to month, but still, I'm hoping for some positivity.
I'm thinking. So I was pausing for different reasons. If I'm the leader, I will give you an answer right now. I'm 62 plus, so whether the company decides that I should be the leader or not is anybody's guess. But if I'm the leader, I genuinely believe what you alluded to earlier. So first, let me complete the digital point. I got sidetracked. Sure. You see, digital today, the suffers from while you said to complete the loop and all that performance is very good. There's a large part of digital which is display where there's no measurement. We are so backdated that in spite of me talking, as you go, I'm involved in all measurement in the country, and not having sorted out the measurement of digital is going to be pulled back digital. Having said that, I genuinely believe, I put my money where my mouth is on the CRM piece, because finally CRM is what fulfillment. So if I can convert everything, and that's why I've told the guy who runs it, you wrap up your team, do whatever it takes. So everyone says data. Data tomorrow with privacy and all that, data will be equal for everyone. There won't be, either you'll have first party data or everything else will be equal for everyone. I can access, you can access. It's how you use the data. How do you, and media people still come from segmentation, high value audiences, which is not, finally, it's not about, as you said, fulfillment. It's about what learning curve do I have. Do I reach out to you? Do I sell a car to you? Do I sell a watch to you or whatever? That's what I'm betting on. Now, I have to operate to be truthful within the confines of a global structure. Because there is a day job, as you said, a quarter by quarter. So you keep ensuring you deliver on the quarter by quarter, but you also keep an eye on that. It's a very good showcase capability we have. It's not a big revenue generator, but it is, maybe 3-4% of my revenue in terms of just pure CRM. Search is very big for us. We have a large search team, but that's not fulfillment as you spoke about. So I think that's where we will come from. We'll be enablers. See, as long as the business positive definition of agencies is that we enablers. we're not doing it ourselves. If I start competing with e-commerce companies, we'll never win. Correct? But if I'm an enabler, I'm a consultant with them, I understand the process and I play that role, we'll be all right. That's the way to go.
Yeah, but the agency I see in the future actually possibly being a person who delivers actual sales results going forward, not just campaigns, because that's the expectations they'll
So
have.
sales results, yes, that's the point. The difference I'm making when I say sales results, I spoke about CRM.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I want because we do multiple cars. I don't want everyone listening. But some of the biggest names, people don't know this. We don't work with them on the TV, print, digital space, but we work with them in CRM. Some of the biggest brands we are working on 10 lakh plus cars, recent launches. Our CRM teams are working where we are paid. And I'm not joking, Anil. We are paid on every car sold, no retainer, nothing.
Okay.
So in a way, but if I consider myself a traveling salesman, I'm not. I'll never become an e-commerce specialist. I'm an e-commerce player. I'll become an enabler. So
Sure.
we have the capabilities, we have teams, cross-functional teams, the creative team, what content to design, how to reach, how to ensure, how to find out who's the guy ready for the car, how to upgrade the guy. Data, all those companies have. Whether we use their data or we get our own data, but that's not going to be. So I can never compete with the car wale or whatever. I'll never become that. But how to massage the data, how to use it, this is my core capability. This is what I will use, which is where the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, so a year and a half, I mean, your portfolio, is it well balanced in terms of categories, or do you need to add categories a year and a half down the line? Do you see more startups coming to you? Do you see more high valued?
Fortunately, so what is our weakness today compared to UPEM? Is maybe could be a strength. I'm not saying it's a strength, but could be a strength. We have a wide portfolio of clients, but we have less CPGs. FMCG is less for us. So FMCG is a very nice, good, clean, classical way of working. But we have a lot of non-CPGs, so be it startups or whatever. I mean, because of Amazon, there's a lot of sheen which comes to us
Sure.
because of Amazon, So I think from a portfolio point of view, we are well balanced. I think the issue is the mindset of the leadership in the company to plan for the future rather than saying, we just deliver to the portfolio opportunities are huge. That's not a problem. So if I have a CRM which is X percentage, how do I ramp it up to say 10% of my revenue? Or if I have something else, I have an e-com tie-up, how do I ramp it up to say 5% of my revenue, 10% of my revenue? Whatever numbers I'm throwing, that's the challenge. That's where it is.
Okay, so a year and a half down the line, where do you see the agency? What do you see it doing? How do you see it different from today or from what it was pre-COVID?
So firstly, I don't think in a year the structure will change dramatically. And I'm saying it because, I can very easily paint a picture of future readiness, tech and all that, make it very romantic to your viewers. But I don't think it will go away so dramatically. It will be basics there. I quite agree with your point that you have to have the capability of completing the loop in the selling process. So if I'm selling handsets for Samsung, Samsung has the data. They are collecting data. They know when to upgrade. They have data on the MI numbers or whatever. For the last 20 years, they've been in operation in India. So they know when you are due for the next phone, what message to send. Do they have the wherewithal? They don't have a service mindset and they don't have a service enabling. We have that mindset. So what do we do to make it happen is the challenge. And those steps, that's when clients will value. But some of the basics will not go away. I mean, a year and a half is too short. I don't know what will happen after 5 years, after 10 years. I don't know. Very difficult to predict. But I also believe another thing, and it's a point I made elsewhere, that this whole thing of saying going back to performance is very important. But equally, trust is important. That day on the panel when you were there, trust is equally important because you have to build trust in brands. And trust in brands will be built some very conventional way of doing things. So you'll have to have the ability to do both, juggle both. What Ashish that day, if you remember, talked of a vertical funnel or whatever. But
Sure.
you need to talk of, so fulfillment, enabling fulfillment. We will never do fulfillment ourselves, but enabling fulfillment, closing the loop, as you said, completing the sale, but building trust. Building trust is the classical way of doing things. That's not going to go away in a hurry.
Yeah. So print, will it recover within the next year and a half, or it's going to struggle still? And is television going to get back to its glory a year and a half?
So print, I will specifically speak on, and I think that's true for TV also. I've been saying this to a lot of print partners. Language print has a great opportunity. I think the mistake they're making is that they're not connecting the loop, what you just alluded to. They have trust, they have credibility. And exactly what I've said, so I'm walking the talk, I've said to almost all the print guys I speak to. I'm friends with all of them. I'm there and all the buddies, they ask for advice. I say, guys, you have to close the loop through your digital assets. So instead of, going to, with no offense meant, to all the social media apps and stuff like that, if you look at your digital, if you link the two, so you promise a customer, a client of mine, and saying, listen, Mr. Mahindra, you're my auto company, you advertise, we build trust, we build credibility through advertising, native advertising, whatever. But print problem is also that creative content is also not the hottest. So I'll build trust through native, whatever. And then I'll close the loop by saying, people interested, showing some interest, I'll follow up with them on my digital assets. I'll entice them, what you said. So they have to work in tandem. They're all building digital, but they're not working in tandem. That's a big challenge. If they sort that out, same thing for TV. They all TV is far smarter. They've got OTT going, but for commercial reasons, they kept them separate. Problem is CPMs. And I keep saying, why you worry about CPMs? You connect. So Z has Z, and they have Z OTT. But if they start connecting the dots, finally, if you don't do fulfillment, you'll be under question. But mass media will give you credibility. Complete the loop is what I'm saying.
Okay. And digital?
Digital, the search part, I'm very, very hopeful and optimistic about. We have a large search.
Almost all of it is going towards almost all digital spends, 80% is going towards two platforms. I think that's a little contorted.
So if what I'm saying happens, to a certain extent, the ratios will change, I mean, everyone's taking the path of least resistance, but so if that happens, then they, what we're saying, if they start leveraging their mass media platforms to fulfill and to mine the customer in detail. But digital, I think the display part of digital, I am very concerned about. When measurement comes in, clients will always ask questions, what's happening? And there's no third party measurement. The faster it comes in, we're hoping and praying that amongst some of the bodies, something happens quickly. I've been at it for 4 years with Park, didn't come out. So the fulfillment part will continue, but the fulfillment part for a lot of big advertisers today, don't forget that a lot of large companies which have advertising budgets are finally doing display advertising. The CPGs and all finally do display. So we need to, so that's a challenge. To grow for a variety of reasons, undoubtedly. But there's a great opportunity for our TV, like New York Times. I mean, you see how New York Times evolved itself dramatically. So it's a great opportunity for our print and TV guys to merge the two, get out of the mindset of CPMs being, disparate CPMs. As a result, will TV or print CPMs erode if we sell package digital together? But at this, think through systematically and create that loop, close the loop in that. There's a big opportunity.
Yeah. So coming back again, as far as the industry is concerned, we've got lots of challenges in measurement. We've got television is pressured by a regulator who's asking industry to execute a new tariff order, which they're resisting, which for obvious reasons for them, it's not making sense to change the pricing so often and so quickly. That's one side. Then the measurement is going a little warped towards certain genres. So much so that, the advertising industry is not really supporting genres which are very premium genres, like the English language genre, which has audiences, but limited audiences. Maybe some of them are moving towards OTT. So the entire measurement piece, you're part of the technical committee, et cetera, et cetera. And then there is the threat of another organization possibly being set up, which will do what Bach is doing. I mean, this is crazy as far as measurement is concerned.
So let's take in reverse order. I genuinely feel, and not because I'm part of Bach and I have pride and passion in Bach since I was involved from day one, but commercially and for a variety of reasons, a new person coming into measurement is not going to be easy. I know the pitfalls and I've been involved. That's there definitely. I think the point you made are very valuable points on niche broadcast, especially English content suffering. And these are some flaws. This is the industry. This is industry. Take a simple idea. So today we measure. Why is it we don't allow? I give a simple thought. Chances are your home and my home, you'll never allow a meter to be installed. Why? Because you have to put you have to press the button because the advertiser wants to know which is the channel being flipped. Now, if you do some attribution, and we have done fair degree of attribution, and you say listen, no measurement is a household panel. I just put a meter. You allow it's okay. The meter measures automatically. There's nothing to be done in that. So I think some of these are manageable. Finally, I've come to the conclusion, measurement in India is not about capability, technology, money. It's about constituency management. People have to get off their short-term agenda of saying that this is the gain I'll get, this is the gain I'll not get, and look at the long term for the industry. Good, and things will happen. And I must say that the four big boys, be it Uday, be it Puneet, be it Sudhanshu at that point in time, and NP, when Bhakra started, finally they were paying TAM-X and they started paying for Bhag, they invested 4 times the money. So they came together. So now many more have to stand up and be counted. A lot of this can be fixed. It's just the mindset. This whole digital measurement is just a mindset. What Google wants one thing, what some other broadcasters want another thing, It's not the money issue, it's not the technology issue. We are the best technology in the world.
Yeah, I get it. So maybe the solution is having a separate measurement for the niche products, which is not
That's
that. Again, who's going to fund it? That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, we had started a PrimaView, which was there, which was upscale measurement, but it never became currency, So, and there is some reality. I mean, there's the even in PrimaView, this, household measurements I spoke about there. Finally, the upside for English channels was not that much. So obviously, and those were good houses, they were decent houses. So maybe there's something going wrong. Maybe there's a shift happening to OTT faster than we think.
Okay, so that it doesn't make sense to have those. What about news? News has always been very unhappy about the treatment it's been given, because there's so much of consumption of news happening. Okay, and despite that, it's very skewed. Kids, again, is a genre which is badly skewed.
So very good friends in the news genre. They always badger us. We're closely involved on what's been happening in news. I don't want to go public. I've been very candid so far. I will not go, but I think it's a problem of their making. Their desire to be number one. And, the news sample is so small. The genres is the truth of the matter. English still particularly. Hindi is still okay. English news is so small and they play the share game. It's a self-inflicted wound they're doing, in their desire to get share one day. All kinds of things happen. Now, I'm not saying illegal stuff, but even otherwise, the way they crack the code, it comes back to bite them because someone else does it. Landing pages. One guy does landing pages, next day someone else will do landing pages. Many, many examples. I'm not even talking about meter fixing. So it's something, it's self-regulation. If you 5 guys decide to sit down and say, listen, I'll do content. So 5 of you do one thing, the 6th guy will come and this thing. So I think it's what I said. It's all in the mind of. Let me tell you, let me give you a parallel. In our business, there used to be undercutting. In the agency will call for pitches, and there would be, and then 3 of us got together. And what are the 3 of us? 5, 6 of us got together and said, listen, guys, yes, clients have a right to demand better rates. That's their prerogative. But they can't ask us channel-wise, this, wise, and all that. We give a broad template we'll agree to, and then we pitch. And I'm happy to report, and it's under Ashish's watch as president of CSFI, that we started, I think now, November 2018. We're sitting 1.5 years on pandemic, no pandemic. We're stuck to it. Not a single pitch. Big brand names, multinational names, global pitches, local pitches. People will say, what will happen to a global company? Finally, we got together and we sorted it out. 5, 6 of us. If the 5 big news boys decide, or the 5 big things, solutions will come. It's not a money-related issue. So I didn't want to purpose it well in detail because I know a lot about it. And I'm saying with confidence, it's not money, it's just a mindset. If you get on this mindset of, I have to be number one. Tomorrow, if, like we did, 5, 6 of us came together and said, listen, I said, we will do this. And we implement it.
It calls for a leader like you and for the leaders that you're...
No. It's many people.
Leaders like y'all are running your agencies.
Correct. So news guys have to get together, They have to keep their running organizations and not the personality they're selling. That have to be number one, have to have 50% share. Why have I dropped to 30% share? If you come from that mindset, then you will take whatever it takes, to be there. So if can I say something in Hindi? I'm a big believer, and I have always said it, and this also Anil taught me, but I have started believing in it a lot more than Anil did. Was the word of biradri. So if you understand that this is a Haryana word, this is a UP.
Biradri,
yeah. So biradri means I am playing, I want to do well, but within a biradri. So within the context of, I'm proud of my industry. So I will do whatever it takes to grow my organization, but I'll never do anything which will hurt my industry. Now, it's easier said than done, because a lot of times you can take shortcuts, you can ask questions, and the commercial decisions, and, we are so bright that you can rationalize anything. I think if the news guys sit down, decide that if they get to the head that this is our biradri, we are spoiling. I mean, today, what is news? I mean, today, with no offense meant, the ratings will be coming, but there's murder case which is happening. It's pathetic. Why is it the newspaper guys have a chance? They have a chance because the news guys are done upon themselves. Otherwise, audio medium, it's a quick medium. If they sit all together and say, this is what we will do, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get together and do that.
Yeah, so there's a polarization happened on news. One bunch of channels who are saying that it's murder, one bunch which is trying to say it's not. So the leader, what was once a leader, is now saying that it's trying to give a platform to the accused in a way. So there's polarization happening over there.
Not only polarization, within the bunch also they're at each other. It's all about either they're playing at someone's behest, or it's a 30% share, 40% share, channel share game. It's one of the two. There's no third answer. If they have an association, if the association gets together and says, guys, this is what we'll do, it's credibility of the thing, to happen.
Yeah, so I'll be getting into a chat with Arnab next week. Let's see what he has to say. I'm having a chat with him, like I'm having one with you, in terms of, so what are the lessons you're taking out of this entire period that we are going through? Let's say the last 6 months going forward, what are the lessons you'll take out of this? And what are the learnings
I think
you as a professional and we as an industry can take out of it?
So I think firstly, I'll talk as an individual rather than a professional, I think there's time for introspection. What do you want to do, with yourself? You're so caught up in our jobs. You're so caught up in the day-to-day that we mistake the mundane and the urgent with the important. So I'm doing this very urgent, or I'm busy at 15 meetings. I was telling my son I'm editing a story, too long to narrate here. But the difference between, what is critical and what is important for your life and for yourself and what will make you happy, then finally what makes you happy is what will reflect in everything you do. This amount of introspection has been terrific. I mean, this allowed self-introspection, family time, all that. And that finally will reflect, as a professional, in a way it's linked to your earlier question, So maybe I may not have played out when you ask the question of 1.5 years later, where will you organize me? I may not have played out to your satisfaction. But let me assure you, in my mind it's clear. And let me also tell you, maybe if you ask me this question 6 months back, it was not clear. Yeah. So that rat race is something to you. So for a variety of reasons, I'm not, if your audience who's smart will understand, those who know me will understand what I'm trying to say, but I've not spelled it out. But in my mind, I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but in my mind, I'm clear. I would not have been clear 6 months. So I think fair degree of introspection on where we want to be, what are the challenges there. And the other thing is, you have to be human, because finally this pandemic has taught you take people for granted. We in our offices, in our day-to-day life, people, and that internationally, the Western is a good trait that they treat everyone well, whatever it is. So I think the fact that a certain sense of humanness has come into this whole thing, at least I've seen that, is a big learning. And if organizations adapt that humanness in the DNA of the organization, other than individuals, that itself will be a big change. I mean, we will be far better off as an industry, as a country, and as a company, and as individuals, if we become a lot more human, as we have learned. Small examples, I'm sure all of you are aware, so I don't want to get into that. But, first we would fight for every paisa, we would bargain for everything, all that is gone. So I think it'll be a far better society when we come out of it. The fact that you're seeing so many deaths all around, you're seeing the virus there, you become tolerant, you become introspective, reflective. All that is a big positive.
Then, as an organization, as a group, as an industry?
So I'll say something to you. I don't know about the industry as an organization. Another thing which we learned earlier in life, no company is better or worse than its leader. So all the weaknesses IPG Mediabrands in India has is my weakness. Okay. And the converse is also true. Maybe some of my strengths reflect onto the organization. So, and when I say me, I'm not making it a personal thing. It's a leadership team. So the 10 of us, our collective strengths and weaknesses is what organization is. And if some of what I said earlier, that, become women, become introspective and the future, definitely that will reflect on the organizations. The organization will also come from there. The fact that I'm saying, small example I gave, not a big deal, but I'm holding on from getting rid of people so far. Collectively, the leadership, we have decided we'll fight it out with the Goras. Try and maintain margins, but not to do that. You have to take many other I mean, the easiest thing to say, reduce costs. It's more difficult to say, I'll maintain margins. So there are many things we should do.
So as an industry, I mean,
as an industry, I think.
You're a leader. You've been such a strong votary. I mean, I've read somewhere that Ashish is a friend of the industry. Sorry, Shashi is a friend of the industry. I'm going a little old. Forgive me for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I believe in that's because I believe in the Biradari concept. I mean, I believe in that, and I think whatever we do for the industry, is finally, our kids will remember this is what seniors I won't call us leaders, but seniors in the industry were.
You invested so much time in almost every institution or every initiative that's come up in the industry.
And I'm very keen to make things happen. I'm not there just for the tag, the name, Sure. There's a lot of stuff now, in fact, I'm doing where I'm not, I've got a title or something. Because I said, if you can leave a mark, if something positive comes out, like that whole print, digital, print plus digital, which is for the betterment of the industry. I've been speaking singularly to last 2 months, every senior leader, and I'm doing a lot of stuff in that area. Nothing will come out of it. Like BARC digital, TV plus digital, we tried, nothing came out of it. But at least you can't fault me for not trying, So I think for the industry, if you pick up 4 or 5 things which the industry can give, like I said, measurement is the example I gave you. If you can do a lot of the stuff, benchmarks are set, like practice I spoke about, the practices are there. We have a better ecosystem with broadcasters and print guys. If you all come together, and in many ways we'll come together. But finally, don't forget we have one industry.
Absolutely.
It's very easy to get into a confrontation that print versus agencies versus client. We are one ecosystem. And if that can be managed, that whole feeling of oneness can come. That'll make a big difference. And the oneness can then manifest in 50 ways. Measurement, like I said, is one example. There are many other ways.
Thank you. And any other last words? I think it's been fascinating.
Thanks a lot. Anil, I must say we go back a long way. I have not opened up so much in the last. We've done many webinars, and you've done it very well. You go back a long way. Plus, you picked up some stuff. You asked probing questions, so it forced me to think. I'm very grateful because more than your audience, it's allowed me to, when I'm speaking, introspect and think through. So very happy that I did this interaction with you, and I hope and pray these are tough times from a personal point of view, that everyone in this country and in Biradari is safe and happy. If you're happy, if you're safe, you'll be happy. These 2 things matter. Nothing else matters.
I'm waiting for this to get over. Let's waiting for this to get over, and we can go back and be our normal selves. Maybe go and watch a football game somewhere.
Absolutely. No, just have a beer together. Nothing else. So simple things, small things to enjoy. That's what.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The audience for staying tuned for so long. Thank you for the hour and a half you gave me. All the best to you. May your agency prosper.
Thank you. Thanks, Onom. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.